home. In my Liverpool home, we speak with an accent exceedingly rare. Meet under the statue exceedingly fair. And if you want a cathedral, we've got one to spare. In my Liverpool home.
Welcome to my video of Liverpool. The making of this video started off as something I was just doing for family living in America who wanted to see how the city had changed. However, as I was videoing, people were asking me what I was doing, filming under statues and the like. I realised that I'd been focusing on hidden little extras and the reasons that they were there, rather than the buildings themselves. It was also apparent that unless you went on one of the city tours, most people wouldn't know about these hidden items. So I wondered if this view of the city would be of any interest to a wider audience, hence the video. A note of caution, however, this is by no means a comprehensive account of the city. There are plenty of videos, books and articles which are, frankly, better informed than me. It's just a collection of things that piqued my interest. So let's begin down at the pierhead by the River Mersey. The pierhead is sited on what was once known as the George's Dock, which was opened in 1771 and filled in 1899. Over a period of 13 years, 3 iconic buildings were built and became known as the Three Graces. First to be built was the Port of Liverpool building to house the Mersey Docks and Harbour Board offices. Built of reinforced concrete and clad in Portland stone, it was built between 1903 and 1907 and has many adornments relating to its maritime history. So let's start with items around the entrance facing the river. On either side of the door are 2 statues, one holding a ship representing commerce and the other a distaff and spinning wheel representing industry. Just above the statues are carvings of the 2 types of ships used at the time, a sailing ship and a steamship. Surrounding each ship are the horns of plenty, representing the wealth of goods passing through the port. On the gates are 2 black Mersey Dock and Harbour Board lozenges with MDHB in gold lettering. On the top of the gates are globes supported by dolphins. This dolphin design is repeated on numerous items throughout the city. The light fittings along the front are being held by the Roman god Neptune. Next up is the Liver Building, built between 1908 and 1911 as headquarters for the Royal Liver Friendly Society. The Liver Building is one of Liverpool's most iconic buildings and will be the first and last view of Liverpool for sailors and passengers. The clock faces are 25 feet in diameter and a dinner was held using one of them as a table. The clocks are electronically driven and started up as King George V's coronation took place in 1911. There are numerous versions of the Liver bird to be found throughout the city, but the ones on the Liver Building tend to be the ones people think of most. The Liver bird tends to be seen as a hybrid of an eagle, a cormorant and some unknown mythical creature. What it holds in its mouth is also subject to speculation. Some say it is a form of seaweed called lava, and from that you get lava or liver bird. Others think it is broom. The reason for this, and please bear with me with this one, is the Latin name for broom is Planta ginesta. Plant ginest is the original surname for the House of Plantagenet, which is believed to have derived from a nickname given to Henry II's father, Geoffrey, Count of Anjou, on account of his habit of wearing a sprig of broom or planta ginesta in his helmet. Liverpool's original city charter and seal were granted in 1229 by Henry III of the House of Plantagenet. The inclusion of broom in the city seal was a link to the crown. The third grace is the Cunard Building, built between 1914 and 1917. The building had 2 main functions, one as offices for the Cunard Shipping Company, secondly as a booking hall, currency exchange, luggage storage and waiting rooms for the passengers. Whilst the building initially doesn't appear to be as grand as the other 2, it has a lot of decoration that people tend to miss. So let's start by looking at the side facing the Mersey. Outside the main entrance is the Cunard War Memorial entitled Victory, and in keeping with its maritime theme is standing above the prow of a Roman ship. Between the top windows are 8 shields of allied countries in World War I. They are Serbia, Japan, Russia, British Empire, France, Italy, Belgium and Montenegro. The rod-like structures on the side are called fasces, and the fasces were a symbol of authority in ancient Rome. Between the 3rd and 4th level of windows are a series of city and town shields. They are Newcastle, Glasgow, Liverpool, London, Southampton and Queenstown in Ireland. There are a similar set of shields on the opposite side of the building. They are Portsmouth, Bristol, Aberdeen, Falmouth, Leith, Dundee, Hull and Plymouth. In the middle of these shields is a carving of the Caduceus of Mercury or Hermes, which was a magic staff held by the god of commerce. Not to be confused with the staff of Asclepius, who was a Greek physician deified as the god of medicine. Returning to the side facing the Mersey, we have a series of figureheads just above the ground floor windows. The majority of these carvings have people from the various countries the line dealt with. Starting on the left and working our way around the building anti-clockwise, they are War, Neptune, Peace. Down the side next to the Port of Liverpool building are a Canadian Indian, Britannia and an Indian. The side facing away from the Mersey are Mexico, Japan, Storm, Maori and China. Finally, the side next to the Liver building there is Egypt, Britannia again and finally Africa. Behind the Port of Liverpool building is one of the 6 ventilation shafts for the Queensway Tunnel. On the ventilation chimney is a sculpture entitled Speed, the Modern Mercury. The 2 basalt statues, Night and Day, are said to represent the fact that the Mersey Tunnel never closes. Situated on the walls facing Man Island and Brunswick Street are 4 panels representing the disciplines needed to build the tunnel. The panels all have the same basic layout. A central male figure holding an object used to support a structure, flanked by 2 female figures also holding objects related to the theme of the panel. The female figures have 1 hand on their head and 1 foot on the central block. The central block is adorned with a geometrical shape suggesting organisation, efficiency and structure. Finally, the pattern behind the male figure's head changes. First up is civil engineering. The male holds a cross-section of the double tunnel built. There is in fact another disused tunnel under the main carriageway. The females hold different types of pneumatic drills. The central block has a circle on top of a triangle, and the pattern behind the male looks like lightning strikes and is repeated in the female's hair design. Construction. This panel has an Egyptian style about it. The male holds a model of a trabation. This was one of the earliest forms of arch, using posts and lintels. It was used by a number of ancient civilizations, including Egypt. The females are wearing Egyptian-style headdresses. One is holding a Lewis bolt, the other a trowel. The central block is inscribed with a square, which normally relates to material things and solidity. The pattern resembles pyramids. Architecture. This time the male is holding the top of an Ionic-style pillar. The females hold a set square and a pair of compasses. The central block has a triangle, point up, and therefore likely to represent a solid foundation and stability. The pattern is a series of chevrons and is repeated in the folds of the female skirts. Decoration. The male is holding the top of an Assyrian pillar with back-to-back bulls. One of the females is holding a mallet and a chisel, the other an artist palette and paintbrushes. The central block now sports a circle, which normally relates to unity and spiritual matters. The pattern now consists of wavy lines, which is repeated in the female's hair. A recent addition are 4 statues of the Beatles, sculpted by Andy Edwards and have a number of interesting details. Firstly, they have been positioned similar to how they usually appeared on stage. Paul and George are on the left, sharing a microphone, John on the right and Ringo at the back. Next, the only hands visible are Paul's left and John's right, the ones they used to play their guitars with. And finally, each Beatle has an item relating to them personally. Paul is carrying a camera and a bag, which relates to Paul's wife Linda, who is a well-respected professional photographer. On George's belt is a mantra representing his interest in Indian spirituality. On the sole of Ringo's shoe, L8 has been written. This refers to 9 Madron Street, Liverpool 8, where he was born. John and Yoko Ono used to send acorns as symbols of peace to world leaders. The 2 acorns he is holding are from outside the Dakota building in New York, where he was shot in December 1980. In front of the Port of Liverpool building is a memorial to the Canadian forces during World War II in the form of paving stones bearing the names of ships and air squadrons. Unfortunately, time has taken its toll and the names are starting to fade. Whilst there is a plaque giving brief details of the Canadian contribution to the country, there appears to be nothing about what happened to the individual ships or squadrons. So, with a bit of digging, I found out the following. Named after a river in New Brunswick, Her Majesty's Canadian ship St. Croix was a town-class destroyer sunk by a torpedo in September 1943. The SS Caligula. This tanker was torpedoed and sunk in the Caribbean Sea, approximately 50 miles southwest of the Grand Cayman Islands. Flying Kanso type aircraft 162 Squadron, Royal Canadian Air Force, was stationed in Iceland at the start of 1944, then later in Wick, Scotland. The squadron is credited with sinking 4 submarines and sharing a 5th as they were attempting to elude the Allied D-Day invasion fleet. A number of medals were awarded, including the Victoria Cross to Flight Lieutenant D.E. Hornell. Registration K136. The HMCS Shawinigan was a Flower-class corvette named after the city in Quebec. The ship was torpedoed with the loss of all 90 crew on the 24th of November 1944 in the Cabot Straits between Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. The SS Victor Light was a tanker sunk by U-boat 564 about 260 miles northwest of Bermuda. The 116 Squadron was originally formed in April 1938 as a Coast Artillery Cooperation Unit based in Halifax, Nova Scotia. It was redesignated as a fighter squadron in May 1939. However, when trying to get the squadron up to full-time operations, the number of personnel was insufficient and was disbanded in November 1939. However, it was reformed in June 1941 as a bomber reconnaissance unit, flying Catalina and Canso Air aircraft. Between July 1941 and June 1945, the squadron carried out over 1,500 sorties. Another Flower-class corvette, the HMCS Weybourne, registration K173, was sunk by mines laid by U-boat 118 near to Gibraltar on the 22nd of February 1943. On the 19th of January 1942, Lady Hawkins was sunk between North Carolina and Bermuda with the loss of 251 of the 322 people on board. Originally formed in 1934, No. 5 Squadron carried out various roles. The squadron was redesignated as a bomber reconnaissance unit in October 1939. The squadron's motto was Volando Vincimus, by flying we conquer. The Guysborough was a Banger-class minesweeper sunk by U-boat 868 in the Bay of Biscay in March 1945. Survivors were rescued by HMS Inglis. The SS Avondale Park has the dubious honour of being the last merchant ship to be sunk on the 7th of May 1945, the day on which Germany surrendered. The Commander-in-Chief of the Western Approaches, Admiral Sir Percy Noble, said of Canada's contribution, "Canadians solved the problem of the Atlantic convoys." Canadian ships and planes carried out over 25,000 escort voyages, helping to deliver over 160 million tonnes of cargo. It's a shame that the names on this memorial have been allowed to fade, for the sake of a little bit of TLC. This sculpture, entitled Heaven and Earth, is dedicated to astronomer Jeremiah Horrocks, born in Toxteth in 1618. Horrocks was the first person to correctly calculate the transit of Venus. At the top of the sculpture is a hand-powered orrery. The position of Venus has been replaced by a copper angel version of Horrocks, which flaps its wings as he orbits around the Sun. Inside the telescope you are able to watch an animation about Horrocks. At the back of the Lider building is the St Nicholas's Church, better known as the Sailors' Church. In the churchyard is a sculpture entitled Blitz by Tom Murphy. It is a tribute to the people killed and injured in the Second World War. It shows a mother and a baby beckoning her son to seek shelter from the bombs. The young boy, however, is more interested in playing with his toy aeroplane. Ferries across the river have been used as early as the 12th century, but it was Jerry and the Pacemakers and the whole Mersey Beat sound that really elevated these ships to an iconic status. There have been numerous ferry names, but two that stick out for most Scousers are the Royal Iris and the Royal Daffodil. Permission to use the prefix Royal was granted by King George V due to their role as troop ships at Zeebrugge in World War I. For Liverpool's biennial celebrations, the Mersey Ferry Snowdrop has been given a new paint job. Based on dazzle camouflage, the ferry really does stand out as it makes its way across the river. Dazzle camouflage was meant to confuse rather than conceal ships from the enemy. The design made it difficult to determine the ship's range, speed and direction. An essential ingredient in the running of the docks was the transportation of cargo to and from the ships and the warehouses. This sculpture by Judy Boyd is called Waiting and is a tribute to the dock horses that pulled these carts. Ronald William Wycherley was a Liverpool-born rock and roll singer with Elvis Presley influences. Along with acts with similar names such as Marty Wilde, Rory Storm and the Hurricanes, Ronald was better known as Billy Fury. Billy Fury died at the young age of 42 in 1983, and this statue is seen as a fitting tribute to him. There are many statues, memorials and buildings around the pierhead that I haven't even started to mention. For example, the Titanic Memorial, propeller from the Lusitania, Lamb Bananas, the Merchant Navy Memorial, Captain Walker, terrestrial and zodiac globes, the Leeds to Liverpool Canal, Museum of Liverpool, Albert Dock, Customs House, Edward VII on horseback, the Seven Seas metal sculpture, Raleigh Stone. That list doesn't even include anything from the city centre. So, I've decided to split the video in two and finish this one on the pierhead at a sculpture entitled Legacy. It is a statue of a young family about to migrate to the new world. The child stepping forward symbolises that migration, whilst the child playing with the crab relates to the deep association with the sea. Between 1830 and 1930, about 40 million people left for the Americas, 9 million of which passed through the port of Liverpool, including members of my own family.
Want it, you can build it. Make the space and it'll fill. And if you dare to dream beyond the noise, you will find a heart opens and waiting becomes the game. Wishing is how you welcome the world as you find your way. Dream on, dreamer, dream on. We all remember as we set on. Dream on, dreamer, dream on. We all remember as we set on. Wake to a new morning and breathe in the new sunlight. Pace the day till dusk falls, black blanketing the night. As you stumble past the shadows and sift through what you spent, just let go if it won't